The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Beneath the Cowl podcast, Cosplay Alliance, our partners and affiliates. This episode may contain coarse language and sensitive subject matters. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Beneath the Cowl podcast with Cosplay Alliance. My name is Cassandra with Cassandra Cosplays, and I'm here with a bunch of really awesome cosplayers, and we are here today to talk on the very serious but also very relevant and topical topic of consent and bullying in the cosplay community. I have some awesome cosplayers here with me. I'm going to start with the introductions. I'm going to go ahead and start with Jam. Tell us your name, who you are, your pronouns, and your handle, and something a little bit about you in cosplay.
Okay, hi, I'm Jam. I am a cosplayer located in the Philippines. My pronouns are they, them, and I usually post over on TikTok. You'll see me post things like, usually like Asian games. Sometimes I do cartoons. Lately, I've been trying to do stuff from IDV, so if anyone likes that game, maybe you should go check me out on TikTok. My handle is the same as the one over here.
Great, thank you. All right, moving over on to Old Fashioned Nerd.
Hi, I'm Old Fashioned Nerd. I mostly post on Instagram. I got into TikTok during 2020, like the rest of us, and then kind of fell off. But I mostly do Marvel and DC cosplays. I've been cosplaying for about 10-ish years. And yeah.
Great. Moving on. Hey, Anthony, Mr. Cosplay Alliance himself.
Yeah, I'm the founder of Cosplay Alliance. We're just a Toronto-based cosplay group, as you guys know. I've started. Old Fashioned Nerd knows me quite well. He's one of my day ones. So yeah, we've grew exponentially. We're taking on the cosplay role now towards podcasting, where we're trying to address a bunch of issues and give the spotlight to a lot of cosplayers out there. So basically, that's the goal.
Cool. Moving on over to Lynx.
Hi there, my name's Lynx. I'm based off in New York, and I mostly do like anime cosplays. Trying to get more into like Marvel and DC. I'm a big fan of Pokemon. I'm mostly active in Instagram. My handle's like right here. I just recently made a YouTube, so I'm gonna try to start doing some vlog stuff for like conventions and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. Anything else? Fun fact, I started cosplay in like 2006. That's pretty much it.
What's your favorite Pokemon? I have to know.
Rowlet.
That's a great one. I love that little guy.
I have a Rowlet piggy bank, and my boyfriend gave me a Rowlet like plushie. Rowlet is just my favorite. He's the best boy, honestly.
I love Rowlet fans. Rowlet fans are always just like, I just want to hold it in my hands forever.
He's so cute. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to add on to our introductions our favorite Pokemon. We'll go back around. Jam, what's your favorite Pokemon? This is for Crash.
Yes.
I feel so bad because I didn't grow up with the games.
You can just say Pikachu. It's fine.
No, I'm not like that. Oh God, it's this little. I think the name is like Snom. It's like this little
white
thing. Yeah, it's definitely Snom.
Spectacular little guys.
Yeah.
Old Fashioned Nerd, what's your favorite Pokemon?
Mine's Cubone, because he's a poor little orphan, and I want to adopt them all. I have a Cubone eating pizza tattoo on my leg. And I have like all the Cubones. I love it. Yeah.
Anthony, what's your favorite?
I want to know what yours is.
Yourself.
Mine, if I had to have a companion Pokemon, it would be Cubone, because same exact reason, little orphan baby. I want to take care of it and protect it forever. But as a fighter Pokemon, that would be like kind of my sword. I would always have Arcanine, because
I knew you were going to say Arcanine.
Mew's always been my favorite.
Mew.
Yeah.
It's cool.
All right, now we're all caught up. Still sticking with Pokemon though in your introduction, because we're in the theme now. Oddfell.
Hi, I'm Oddfell. My pronouns are she, her. I've been cosplaying also for about 10 years. I do lots of comic book and fantasy costumes, as well as video game costumes as well. over on Instagram and TikTok. On YouTube, I do a lot of comic book and toy and statue unboxings type stuff. And my favorite Pokemon, it's hard to pick. I'd say I'm always back and forth between Starmie and Mew. Those are my two favorites.
Starmie. I've never
I
heard anyone
love
like Starmie.
Starmie.
It's just so pretty though.
I know.
Good
It's just
purple
so
color.
cool. Yeah.
My favorite part in like the shows is, you know how like every Pokemon kind of says like their name, like Pika,
Yeah.
Pikachu, and then there's Starmie and Staryu.
Yeah.
Like,
As is their right. Well, then you have Guzzlord that's a human man screaming.
yeah.
And if you guys didn't know, that is James from Team Rocket's voice actor doing it.
No
Just
way.
screaming at the top of his lungs. That's Guzzlord.
I need to see that later.
So excellent.
And moving on to Crash with the Pokemon trivia.
Oh, yeah. Well, hi. I have got so much of that, and I'll try not to hyperfixate as much as possible.
We'll do a
But-
Pokemon episode.
Oh, my.
It'll
Dude,
just be us
dude.
talking about Pokemon.
Dude. Hear me out, though. But I'm Crash. I've been doing cosplay also for about 10 years now. I really like Pokemon and Legend of Zelda. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm mostly active on Instagram, but recently on Twitch I've been doing a lot of Pokemon card unboxings, which is what a lot of this over here is.
Whoa.
And my favorite
Nice.
Pokemon is Latias.
Alright,
I've got a little
moving
one on a
on.
rainbow over here.
Looks like Ali has a little Growlithe over there.
I do, yeah. He's not little though.
All right, Lex.
Hi guys, I go by Luxty's Cosplay, and I am mostly a League of Legends and some anime that I like. I like a lot, but like I'm very specific, like design wise, what I cosplay. But I usually do DC and Marvel, League of Legends type of cosplay. I've been cosplaying for 10 years. And
Well, decades
pronouns are she, her, and favorite Pokemon, Charmander.
Nice.
That's so valid.
Charmander.
He's the best little guy.
Moving on over. Do you prefer Allie or Allison?
Either or, honestly.
Okay, Allie, your turn. Just tell us a little bit about you.
okay.
Pokemon.
My name's Allie. I go by she, her. I am a cosplayer in like the Niagara, Toronto area. I've only been cosplaying since 2018, and my math is really bad. I think that's 8 years now. But I mostly do like Marvel and DC. I try to make some of my cosplays. I've been trying to branch out with more with that, but yeah, mostly Marvel, DC, and that's it.
Great. So we're gonna just kind of jump right in. So when we talk about consent, consent means different things to different people. And is that your dog?
Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna mute.
I was like,
He's so happy to be here.
So we're going to start kind of with, when it comes to consent, talking about our costumes themselves and our props. So consent isn't just about being touched yourself physically, but it also comes down to your costumes and your props and things like that. So does anyone have anything they want to kind of like touch on and talk about when it comes to giving some advice or talking about at cons kind of the etiquette when it comes to asking for consent, when it comes to touching costumes, props, things like that? And we're gonna do a little hand raise thing. Old fashioned nerd. You can say it with your chest. You know, everyone will get a chance to say.
In general, with consent, I always try to ask. Period. As a cosplayer, you know how delicate any piece can be, and so I always ask, like, if I'm curious about like the fabric or what something's made of, I'll either ask, "Hey, what is it made of?" or "Do you mind if I touch it?" And I'm always very delicate with whatever. But I also get very excited at conventions, and not that I've forgotten to ask, but I know I don't. drawing a blank all of a sudden. It's very easy to forget how much something costs, how long it took someone to make it, how fragile something can be. So if you see a person, first off, ask, period. And if they say no, just accept the no. It could be more fragile than it looks. And yeah, I guess that's it before I just keep rambling.
No, you're good. I fell.
Yeah, to build off of that, long gone are the days of glomping, and I'm so happy for that. But
Can you
I
explain
feel
what
like
glomping means
sometimes,
for the audience?
yeah.
Oh yes, some
so
of them
it-
might have a birth year that starts with a 2.
yeah. So I feel like I came into the cosplay community right at the tail end of it. Like, I've heard whispers of this, but I've never experienced it. But it was full sprinting at someone and then running, hugging very aggressively, and the point seemed to be to like knock the person down, but in a loving way.
Right.
And those days are long gone, but I feel like sometimes people can be really excited and want to come hug you still, and even though it's less aggressive, like I do like to always touch on, cosplay etiquette whenever I do panels, because, newer cosplayers don't fully grasp that yet. And it's something where, like, you can't just run up and hug someone and potentially, like, break a shoulder piece or knock a prop out of their hand. In much the same way, like, I feel like it needs to be talked about that you can't just run up and grab someone's sword because it looks cool. Because, yeah, like you were saying, you never know how expensive something is, how fragile something is.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important just to be like, hey, ask before you run up and hug someone or grab their prop.
And that is where I forget, specifically with hugging. Some people don't like to be touched, period. Whether it's by a loved one or a close friend or whatever. I don't hug strangers, obviously, but like when I think I'm friends with somebody, I don't think to ask, hey, can we hug? Is it okay if I hug you? I just kind of go in for it, and then if they're being nice, they're just gonna do it and feel uncomfortable instead of simply me asking and them saying yes, that's okay, or no, it's not, and me like, hey, okay, understood, hey, it's great to see you in person, like, and then continue the conversation. But often I do get excited and I need to have it in my brain more often of asking, hey, can I hug you or whatever, but I need to think on that more.
Lux.
So even when I am at conventions and people want to take pictures with me, I usually even myself, I ask, can I touch them? Like I want that exchange. Like if you're gonna take photos with me, and am I allowed to put my hands and touch you, like around their back, type of thing, and just to kind of like teach it, I guess, in a way, so that whenever they're gonna pursue or another cosplayer, they'll remember that interaction. So I just wanted to say that as
Leading by
well.
example. Yeah.
I remember that at Otaku Fest like a couple weekends ago, someone asked for pictures, and then like he asked, we were like, okay, yeah, sure, and then he kind of pulled us. I was like, why you gotta be so aggressive? But like, still, we gave permission. But yeah, just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and that's a really good point too. So I'm a performer that works in the parks, and we go through a whole training of how to ask for photos, or when people ask us to ask, is it okay if you touch, and things like that. Does anyone have any kind of advice that they would give people who may be nervous to ask cosplayers for photos or to touch like your props and things like that? Because sometimes people can get scared that they're like, oh, I can't say anything. So does anyone have any advice or kind of a little bit of encouragement to anyone if they want to approach a cosplayer to ask for a photo or to touch their props? Jam?
Yeah. So I'm a little bit more new to like cosplaying at conventions, but from what I've noticed and like the interactions that I've had, I'm cosplayer is just as much of a just a normal human being as like person asking. So it's better to ask than not at all. Like it's in any situation, it's always better to clarify and get things out of the way before you do something. So especially if you're not sure whether the prop was like homemade, or if it took a long time to get to work on the cosplay, or if anything is like possibly delicate. It's better just to ask. And if not, it's fine if like you just want to take a picture, but it's okay to like just stand your distance and like post, or like, just like take a picture together. You don't have to like interact. It's not always an obligation, obviously, like to touch someone when you take a picture with them. So it's fine if you just want to pose for one, like just standing a little further away. But if you do want to take pictures and like possibly interact or have like a little scene going on, it's always better to ask than not at all. So that we also, if like should we also be really into it, like we know how to interact in that photo, or we know how to pose, or like bounce off of your energy.
Lex?
Just to add on to what Jam said, I usually like to pay attention to like my surroundings. So like I notice that there are people who might be super shy and they don't know how to ask for pictures or ask to touch props, or some of them, I'm sure we all may have encountered people who may be like a little bit on the spectrum, and they might just
Countered.
they're just shy. And I always look out, and try to be nice and welcoming and warm to them, because like from experience, I've literally would be talking to my friends or someone else, someone wanted a photo or taking photos, and this person would just stand there and just stare, or they're looking down or to the side, and I would pick up on it and I would just welcome them and just ask, do you want a photo, or is there something that you need? And they're like, yes. It's like they were like so happy, and they're excited. And I just wanted to like put it out there that sometimes looking out for people who are just really shy and don't know how to approach also helps. It's just based on what I've noticed, like personally.
Crash?
I was gonna say, like just the time and place can also be really important. I know, like it's just a well-known thing among cosplayers ourselves of like if you see someone eating or like they've obviously taken pieces of their costume off, that is not a photo op time. Uh, and usually, like nowadays, I don't think I've had that happen in like a whole calendar year because I feel like people are catching on that that's just not a kind thing to do. Uh, but like if someone is out just like on the floor, like I know like a bunch of people were just at MomoCon, myself included. If you're like in this main hallway, it's kind of like if you're traipsing around it, it's like that's an okay grounds to like ask for a photo. So you don't have to be intimidated to be like, oh well, what if I'm like interrupting their conversation or something, where it's like I assure you, like we would be flattered to just have you geek out with us for a little bit over what our mutual interest is. It's like
Yeah.
it's just kind of the time and place for when you ask for it. But when they're like on the floor and you can tell they are completely done up and obviously not like booking it to get somewhere, then that would be totally fine. Although booking it,
Yeah.
don't ask for photos if someone is on their way to a photo shoot or during one. Please don't do that.
We'll push you out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a guy at MomoCon while me and my friend were shooting, and he came over with his friend. We're like, hey, can we get a picture? And luckily, my friend spoke up first, was like, we're actually in the middle of a paid photo shoot right now. We can't. And he went, oh, but please, like, real quick. And that was immediate, like, no, actually. No, never again. So,
Anthony, did you have your hand up?
location.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna piggyback off of what Crash said and what Lux said. There are people who are a bit more shy to come and ask for photos and stuff like that, and then there are those who are complete opposite. I feel like people who attend con, and this is like the general public, see cosplayers as a somewhat of an entertainer or an attachment to the con. Kind of like we're working for the con, and you saying yes to a photo like does not give them the right to touch you, but a lot of them think that they can touch you without the boundaries being set. So I feel like they do see you as somewhat of like an entertainer for the con. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's where the cons have to kind of reiterate and tell the general public that these people are coming on their own accord. They're not here as part of the con for your enjoyment or your entertainment. You can ask for photos, but they're not obligated to give you photos. You know what I mean? So I feel it's something that needs to be discussed in a more of a with the con organizers themselves.
Yeah, and that comes down to asking consent every time that you take a photo with somebody, not just one person said yes, so that means everyone says yes. Because one of the things that sometimes people, they get nervous to ask, or because they're afraid that if someone says no, it's personal. And it's, if someone says no, that's it. That's no, you don't beg them for more. You don't try to bargain with them. You say, okay, thank you. And they may say, can you come back another time? But even if they don't, people who are paying to be at the con as a guest are not obligated to do anything they don't want to do, even if you really love their costumes. And that brings us kind of into the next one, is people taking photos without consent. Crash, do you want to say something on that?
I'll speak on this on shortly from Crash.
I'll let you go first. We'll just heat up.
I just want to speak on this because we've done a few outdoor shoots as well, and I feel like yes, there are those people who will come and take photos without consent, but I feel there's also a lot of cultural barriers that I would say, which is not there is no educational tool out there for people, or there should be more educational tools out there for people to in these circumstances. There are a lot of people who are new to, I'd say, the country itself, or don't really understand. You can't really blame them for it. I think it's more of a teachable moment than it is something that, you know what I mean. Instead of shaming them, you just teach them. You know, this is what you do. You ask for photos. More likely say yes to you, anyways. But just ask, right? But for those that know and don't ask, it's an issue.
Crash, then Jam.
Oh, Jam had their hand up. That's fine. I don't mind.
No, you go first.
No, you.
It's okay.
Crash doesn't want to talk about it.
But surprisingly, even when I'm not like in cosplay, like at cons just for fun, part of my job is going to cons and vending, and it's not obligated to cosplay like while we're working the booths. But because it's like a fantasy setting, a lot of times me and my coworkers will do like Ren Fair garb and stuff like that because it's just fun. And for some reason, as soon as like you're behind a counter, it's almost like it's usually not other cosplayers, obviously, but the amount of people who will just drive by with their phones and start scanning the booths or just take pictures over other people where you can clearly see they have their phone in landscape mode. You're like, why? Why would you do that? And there was a woman at MomoCon too, which, granted, when I say she looked like a normie, I assume we kind of know what that feels like. Like, felt like she was probably someone's mom. And she had her phone out and was just running around recording people. And at one point, while I was in Aphrodite, she just like put the phone kind of up to me and followed me for a bit as I was walking and then just ran away. I don't know. Like, obviously, just...
Was this person a content creator?
I don't think so. There was one guy who was, and was like, hey, do you know who I am? He was like, oh yeah, I'm like a famous streamer. And I'm like, okay. And then his friend left and he was like, told me his name that I don't remember. And he was like, okay, cool, well now you know. And then they just left, continuing recording him. And again, I just kind of stood there like, that wasn't real. That surely not.
That's
and even
wild.
if you're a well-known streamer, still ask for consent. Doesn't matter how many followers you have.
Yeah.
1 or a million.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I get the tourism mentality, but still.
Oh gosh, but I'm gonna like piggyback off what Anthony said first. Talking about like pictures, outside, because sometimes, usually on like my birthday, sometimes I'll go out in public with my friends and cosplay, and like obviously we look a little strange, we look a little weird. Sometimes it's not, it's not normal to see Mirabelle from Encanto just walking around like the mall area. But like, if you want to take pictures of a cosplayer, when it's not a convention, like they're just hanging out in cosplay, it's always better to ask first, because like we're also just, I guess, normal mall goers as well. Like just because we're dressed up doesn't mean like you immediately have to take pictures or have to notice us. I don't personally mind it too much, but I like, if I wasn't dressed up, you wouldn't just take a picture of a random stranger like without asking them.
No.
Yeah. So I think like that's also an important thing to note, and especially for, oh my gosh, like when you mentioned like the normie mom type, I got like a memory of like the last convention I went to, and this is also another thing. If the cosplayer is holding stuff, like a lot of stuff in their hands, it's probably better not to ask them, because we were on our way home from a con, and like we were going down the escalator, like just out of the grocery store because we had to pick stuff up. So I'm like holding things in my hand is so gross. My sister Farina is like lugging behind me with like another grocery bag, and someone stops to ask us for a picture, and she already has her phone out, so we can't say no. And so like we have to like lean back with the bags in hand and just be like, and wait for it to be over. And it's
Yeah.
and we like getting asked to, we like, obviously we like being asked to take pictures with people, but yeah, time and place, if it's clear that we're leaving or if we're in a rush to go somewhere, it's probably either we will say no, or like it's more likely that we're gonna say no, or like it's probably better not to bother them, because we're not in the right mind. Like it's the last day. The wig is like slowly falling off my head. I'm like I'm getting like tension headache from the wig cap and
Got
my
4
boots and
dealer's
stuff.
room bags.
Yeah,
I feel a lot of
It's
I feel a lot of people kind of confuse cosplayers, or can't tell a cosplayer differential cosplayer from the street performers in like Vegas or something like that. So when they see you in costume, they just automatically assume they could come get a photo and stuff like that. So Phil?
Athel?
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback a little bit off of what Crash was saying, but I feel like I've noticed streaming at cons getting way more common. I can't tell you the amount of people just walking through C2E2 with their phones out, like pointing stuff out and like live streaming the con. It's a very weird new thing I've noticed. Like, this is just vendors hall, like going by, like pointing out vendor booths, pointing out cosplayers. Like, it's very weird and new, and it really does like bring up questions of consent, because it's when it's such drive-by content, really. It's like it's a new thing. I don't think I've seen people streaming conventions like that up until like the last year or two. So it's definitely weird and new. I also feel like if you're someone who does more revealing costumes, you're not unfamiliar with just turning around and seeing people take photos with you. That's probably my biggest pet peeve, is I'm like, listen, you will get a better photo and maybe even the pose you wanted if you had just come up and asked me. But like now you're super not going to get the photo because I've just noticed you and like your friends like 10 feet away zooming in trying to take a photo, and it's weird. Don't do that. I know that like sexier costumes can be intimidating, but at the same time, like, it's very uncomfortable to have that feeling of like, oh, are people just okay, cool. Like, just go up and ask the cosplayer. They'll pose for you if they're comfortable taking the photo. Like, you'll get a better photo that's not blurry or them looking uncomfortable if you just go ask.
Like, we won't be intimidating or as mad if you were to have just asked.
Yeah.
At that point,
Yeah.
even if you're weird afterwards, fine. But at least you did the basic courtesy.
Yeah, because like you're gonna have someone giving you a death glare if they turn around and all of a sudden they see your cameras out. Like that no one wants that feeling.
Yeah, for me, when someone comes and they like ask me and I just got to like a convention or something, like it's hard for me to say no because I'm like, oh wow, someone wants to take a photo of me. But I'm like, wait, I'm not like actually like ready to take a photo. So I'll be like, wait, can you just wait a few minutes so I can get my shoes on or my gloves on? Because I'm like, yeah, I'm photo ready. Wait, just kidding, I'm not. And going back on what you said, Otfel, for like the social media and like the streaming, I think it's just kind of like the phenomenon with like social media and like TikTok, because you can stream on TikTok now too. I feel like people are just trying to like make content so they can become viral or something like that, and they want to catch the real life moments of what's happening right now. And I've been seeing that a lot more in just not just conventions but just in general. So that's just something that I observed more recently.
That actually brings me on to kind of the next topic perfectly, is trends and how they've kind of affected what's going on, like with consent, with how cosplayers are approached. Have you noticed kind of trends making kind of an impact on the way that people are treated, or that do ask or don't ask for consent at cons? Oddfell.
I'll jump in. I'll address the has-been hotel elephant in the room before we get really started on this topic.
Let's go.
Because wow, I cosplayed at C2E2 with a friend, and just the amount of people that would come up and be super weird to my friend in Angel Dust for no reason other than the fact they're Angel Dust, or just super over the top, like touchy friendly with us because we were in has-been in general, was wild. I don't know if it's because it is more of a young community that likes it and it's people who aren't used to cons and con etiquette, or if it's just that it's so popular, or if it's because some of the characters are kind of hypersexualized. But I did notice that people are just very much so in the mode of, you are this character, with that community specifically, and like how they would treat you and run up to you. And it was very, very bizarre and very not like if I cosplay Phoenix, people act totally different than when I was cosplaying somebody from Has-Been. And it's I don't know if anyone else has noticed that or has cosplayed from that and noticed it, but it was a very weird, very forward interaction I had with people.
And that's something remembering too, that cosplayers are not actors and they're not the character. Most people don't stay or want to be in character. So that's another part of consent, is treating them like a character, like Angel Dust and things like that. So that's something to keep in mind for when you're going to cons.
So Oddfell, should I be scared to cosplay Deadpool then? Because I have a Deadpool costume. I'm kind of afraid.
I would actually say Deadpool cosplayers kind of get the inverse treatment. I feel like people are usually used to Deadpool cosplayers causing the chaos. So I think you should be okay, but honestly, who knows with the new movie? It's hard to say.
Culture's so different from first movie to now.
Yeah, Has-Been is such a mature ratings too, and but like you said, it's really popular with the younger crowd, and they're asking people who are older to cosplay them. I don't know if you had that kind of experience, how you feel about that when someone's of underage asking you to do certain things as that character.
It was definitely uncomfortable. I was cosplaying Alistair, so at least in my case, my character was probably one of the more PG-13 ones on the show, but again, my friend was Angel Dust. And I mean, they had children probably 10 years old just running up and hugging them or being like, you're my favorite from the show, and blah, 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 and talking to them like they were the character. And I know, again, some of it is the fact it's the younger fan base, but when it's something so adult, like Angel Dust specifically, it is very, very uncomfortable. And that's something where it does come down to parenting, and it's not necessarily the cosplayers cosplaying the thing's responsibility to educate the parents on that. So it's kind of ooh.
It's a weird gray area.
Yeah.
I remember. Oh, wait, Spam, you had your hand up before.
Yeah, sorry. God, I have mixed feelings specifically about anything that anything from the studio of Has-Been Hotel, because I was really young when I got into that the artist's work, and so I was seeing the kind of stuff that the fandom did well before the show was even aired as a pilot on YouTube. And it just makes me uncomfortable knowing how young that audience is. And because I'm like, my audience on TikTok is also pretty young. So I have to kind of like remind and uphold like the different boundaries that people have like when it comes to cosplaying, and especially cosplaying on TikTok, because like some of us want to be in character when we're on live. Let's say some of us like are just there to chat and like chat in cosplay, and a lot of time like the younger kids I guess tend to forget that, and um I guess it's just important to remind, especially if like it's a younger person at a con, like how to interact. But I understand like how uncomfortable it can feel, especially when you're trying to cosplay someone from Has-Been Hotel of all things. Like I cosplayed Husk once before, and on all of my videos it was very very clear like, hey,
That's my
don't
boy.
watch this, don't interact if you're like under 18. I don't feel comfortable. Like it's a very like the kind of
Yeah.
people that it hosts.
Mhm.
It's a little like
Yeah.
you have to be very wary, and is like if you're going into a con, you see someone who has been hotel, treat them like you would any other cosplayer.
Yeah.
Like just be respectful, keep your boundaries there. We are not here to perform most of the time. We're just here to have fun. And I also wanted to add to like, oh god, oh no, I lost it. It'll come back. You can go ahead, Crash.
I was you're good. I was gonna say, kind of going off of that too, like the whole minors do not interact like type thing might seem like a little bit extreme, and to some extent, yes, it can be. But in the case of like adult content, that is specifically for your and the person involved's safety, especially when it comes to adult media. And it's not even like, well, has-been can still be like kind of fun for like teenagers. And it's just like, no, though. Like, I'm fine if you like, think that it's funny, but it's like that kind of content is adult rated. And that's just something that like adults and you cannot mesh in. And also it can like, I'm really hoping it doesn't lead to like that era again of like grown adults and younger kids being in the same media and suddenly feeling like everyone is your friend,
Mm-hmm.
because then that can lead to very dangerous grooming
definitely.
situations.
Yep.
So it's not that we don't want to talk to you. It's just that we don't want to be the ones to promote those relationships when you are not old enough to be having those. And like when I was growing up, like around my teen years, like Borderlands 2 was super popular. And Mad Moxie was like the girl to be.
Yeah.
And a bunch of people who knew me as I was like getting into cosplay were like, oh, you should do Mad Moxie. And I was sitting there like, bro, I'm 17. I'm not going to do that. That's really weird and messed up, and I don't want those interactions either. And now, like, I wish more kids, like, the kids these days, like, had that mentality
Mm-hmm.
of, like, I promise you, you don't want those interactions.
Yeah.
I really think like
Yeah.
a good boundary is like healthy between like adult media and like the underage.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have a story. Because I was having this conversation with my wife today. Because she does like makeup and stuff as well, right? And she only has like one close-up photo of herself on Instagram. So I was telling her like, she wants to start doing it, but she's like, I don't want to put myself out there. I'm like, okay, I mean, you don't have to. But she's like, you don't understand. Like, so she showed me like the messages that she's got. I'm like, this is just from one little photo. I'm like, what, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. I'm like, I didn't know it was that bad, to be honest with you.
Yeah, my wife's the same way. She cosplays, but she stopped posting almost altogether. She enjoys cosplaying. She enjoys the social aspect of conventions, and enjoys dressing up. But she stopped posting because of she wasn't even posting anything like scandalous or anything. But similarly, she was getting all these messages of like weird requests and rude, gross things, and she was like, "Nope, I'm out. I'm done. I'll enjoy it in person at conventions, but yeah."
Wow.
Jumping off of that, also that sometimes people think that consent is just in person as well, but it also goes on to online. So when it comes to being online, like what you both were saying, that messages, that's something that also has to do with consent, sending things to people that they're not expecting, asking them to do certain things. Do you have any advice to people who may be struggling dealing with people like that are putting themselves out there on social media and kind of having a hard time dealing with a lot of the unwanted comments, attention messages, and things like that? Does anyone have any advice that maybe be able to help people deal with it?
Yeah, Ali?
Allie?
Oh, we can't hear you.
Oh.
Yeah, we can't hear you. No.
No.
Oh, still not yet. Says your mic is live. Can't hear you.
Oh.
Oh no.
Is it anything on the settings side of this chat? Did we mute them
No.
on accident?
Nope, she's...
Oh,
Maybe
no.
leave and come back and see if that helps.
Like refresh.
I promise I'll let you in.
Yeah, because her voice thing was lighting
Oh,
up.
no.
Yeah, her voice thing was lighting up.
Well,
Does anyone else want to speak on that while they're
I'll
fixing
kind
it?
of go off a little.
Go off, sis.
I was like,
for me, actually, I'm recently made like a TikTok, and you know how you can kind of filter out like words for
Yep.
like comments. I
Mhm.
think one of the first things I did was enter in a bunch of like words to be
You
not.
can do emojis too.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know about the emojis
Yeah.
actually.
Ayo.
But yeah, that was one of the first things that I did, because like some of the stuff that I hear from like TikTok comments or in comments in general, I'm just like, well, I don't want to like expose myself like to like those type of
Mhm.
comments, because it's not really good for like my own like mental health. So yeah,
Yeah.
and
I
also
do the same thing
for
on Instagram.
what's that?
I do the same thing on Instagram. You can mute words, emojis, whatever.
Yeah,
Say
and
Yeah.
for Instagram, I started to realize that you can also put your messages in like a general, primary, or
Yeah.
like restricted like category. So I started to actually, since I created my Instagram, and then I think that was just recent though, when they added that feature. That was something I also started to do. It's just like, because you get the influx of messages, including stuff from like spam, but like I think for me it definitely helps, especially with being online so often. Yeah.
Allie, can we test your mic?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was saying, I feel like, because I started out in cosplay when I was kind of younger, and I'm older now. I'm in my mid-30s. So I found when I was first started and I first got those messages or those comments or things like that, it bothered me. Like I will be flat out honest. It bothered me. I didn't really know how to react. Back then I was more of like I wasn't very confrontational. I didn't really want to say anything or make anybody feel uncomfortable. I was very much a people pleaser. If I would make myself feel uncomfortable to make you feel comfortable. So I kind of let that slide. But I find as I get older, and you just like, I don't know, you just grow, I guess. I put a stop to that. I know my boundaries. If I need to take a break, I take a break. There's been months where I haven't posted a single thing on Instagram because I'm just like, I can't. I just need to step away for right now. And also just telling those people, like, no. Like, no is a full sentence. No, I don't want these comments, or stop messaging me. This is inappropriate, or just. And sometimes I start out nice. I will try and be nice. Like, I don't come out guns hard. I'll try and do the education. But if it continues,
There's a
I'm putting a
block
stop
button.
to it. Yeah.
And you make a really good point too, in that. Oh my god, I just forgot what I was going to say. It was such a good point. Oh yeah, you can take a break. You can take a break from social media. The algorithms and social media makes us feel that we have to continue posting. And if we
every
stop
day.
posting for any amount of time, all of a sudden we're going to lose all of our followers and no one's going to know who we are anymore. It's okay to step back and take a breather. You don't have to force yourself to make content if you're not feeling it. So thank you for bringing that up.
Definitely,
And
I
my job.
agree.
I can't remember who told me once, but they were like, social media is just a scrapbook of your life. It is not like an immediate autobiography. And that honestly just kind of changed my entire world. And I was just like, you're so right. Everything in here is fake. I don't have to do any of this. And so now I post maybe once a week if I remember. But it is so much nicer not having like to be attached to that timeline. Anyway, Oddville.
Oddville.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, like protecting your peace online is so very important, and it's not necessarily just against the bad messages. Sometimes it's just against the volume of messages. Like when I first started, gaining traction online or just being online in general, I felt like I owed responding to every comment and every DM, but it's okay not to. And I think, I forget which person brought up the separated inboxes, but like having the primary and the general is such a way that I kind of am able to separate and not feel overwhelmed. Because sometimes it is overwhelming if you open your inbox and there's like 13 unread messages. But having that where I can just be like, here's my primary, these are the people that I also follow and I'm friends with, and then here's like general, which I will open whenever I have the headspace to potentially encounter like negative remarks or things I don't want to see, or maybe there's brands in there that want to talk or XYZ, but these are things that I will get to when I'm in a headspace to open. And I think having boundaries like that, or not feeling you have to reply to everything for the algorithm, is so, so important, because it can be so draining and taxing, and sometimes it's okay just to post something and then let it see what happens in the void. You don't have to sit and babysit it and reply to everyone and like boost it. Like, it's so important to still protect your peace online and have your space, and not just feel like you have to give away. You can't pour from an empty cup. You don't have to give away all your social battery online, is I think the key aspect I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. Jam?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to bring this up because it's an interesting like part of being on TikTok, especially recently. And this also, I know that it's branched over onto Instagram somehow. Like there's when you're on TikTok and you like, let's say you like mostly make cosplay content and interact with that kind of stuff. Like obviously you'll see that kind of stuff on your feed. There will be times when people from different sides of TikTok like end up seeing your video, and you kind of have to deal with them either not knowing the etiquette or not caring and not bothering to. Like in all like the in all like the fandoms that I've done, which are like mostly animated movies, like kids media, stuff like that, the worst one I would get was definitely from like the Turning Red era of TikTok, especially because people for some reason did not like it, and they thought like they could they they thought that seeing me on there gave them an invite to say something like bad about the movie or just in general about me, which again, you don't have to deal with them. There's only so many your mom jokes I can make to certain people about that.
I love a good your
I
mom.
did like a whole it's sometimes it's invigorating, but like I did do like the filter on TikTok where it was like the only word I would like filter out was mid, because so many people were like commenting turning mid, and I found like 50 100 comments on some of my videos that are just like full filters of just of like turning mid. And so I would just be like, okay, I'll have to do all right. So a lot of it is like either filtering, and if I have the time or energy, sometimes I'll just end up ranting on like my close friends or something like that. But most of the time, like they're either like I don't like they're either from a different realm of like the internet, or they're just there to hate. I've seen like comments that were like flat out racist or just nasty towards like my cosplays, and it's like whew, okay, some of them like they're not even meaning to be racist, but it's like okay, maybe let's not. And I guess that also goes for asking certain cosplayers to do things, especially if we're like VOC, because I'll get into cosplays from like I'll get into like a cosplay from like a cartoon, and then someone will ask me, "Hey, can you do this one Asian character?" And I'm like, "I know where this is going, but I'm not supposed to say anything." And it's like, "Oh, okay." I don't normally, if it's like a request like that, I don't normally do it unless I know that I'm into it.
Yeah, no,
So it's
don't.
easy. Like,
Why would you?
yeah,
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that's another thing. Like online, um, is like if you're asking a cosplayer if they can cosplay something, especially in a space like TikTok where more TikTok cosplayers are like younger and sometimes also have to like budget what they're wearing. It's not an easy investment, to buy a
Yeah.
whole cosplay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like if you're gonna request a costume or a cosplay from a certain creator, like um don't expect it to always be met with like a yes, because it's not easy to like especially when you're like younger, like you're on a budget or you're a college student. It's not easy to get all the stuff you need for that cosplay.
PayPal and Venmo.
Yeah, pay me if you want to see it.
Maybe then.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Cassandra, I don't know if you had this topic to touch on. I'm just gonna piggyback kind of off of what Jam was saying. So I guess we can all agree there is there are a lot of problematic and predatory people outside of the cosplay community, um, whether it be online or at the cons and whatnot. How do we deal with problematic or predatory cosplayers, photographers, and people within the community?
Lux, was that your hand up?
Oh no, sorry. I was thinking.
We had an incident here in Illinois about a year and a half ago that assumed trusted photographer betrayed that trust to one of our local models, and we have a local cosplay group that runs different events for us to like meetups and stuff. And he was part of that group, and they took him out of the group. They warned everyone. They told him, they got the consent of the model to kind of say, hey, here's what happened. Avoid this person.
Yeah.
And most of us did, but it was a very big thing for it to happen to someone, not to someone who is an amazing person, from someone who we all thought was also a good person. And so it was a very awkward and uncomfortable situation.
Which is
And so
which it should be. Yeah.
to draw that line and cut them out like completely was hard, but also an easy decision.
So
Um,
I'll ask you, Frank. Because it's similar to what's happening around here. How would you handle the situation if that cosplay group did not want to cut that person out?
well, then for me personally, you just cut out the cosplay group and let one-on-one let your friends or local cosplayers know, hey, just so you're aware, here's the situation. You're an adult, you can make your own choice, but just be aware that this is what happened with this person and between these people and whatever, and the group is choosing not to do anything about it. um, you know but there's only so much you can do
Yeah, I agree.
and still have people make the choices that they're going to make
And that
too.
goes for cosplayers as well. There are people that have been called out, and people still continue to work with them.
Yeah,
It's kind of a hard thing for
that's
to
all the
do,
time,
right?
unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, from
I think-
what I've seen, like, oh, sorry, Crash.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Oh, that fell. Oh my gosh. From what I've seen on just like on Instagram is when something along the lines that happens, someone will go forward and they won't have anything to do with the situation, but they'll take in like anonymous, like what do you call it? Like I guess evidence or whatever they call it, and kind of like bring the victim's story out to the public on Instagram, and from there people kind of just like share and inform others. That's from what I've personally seen. Like I think it's like a good way to inform the public, but also like just to be aware of like what's around you, what's going on with other people, but like take that information, make your own decision, and just go from there. Like we're all adults. Like you have the you have the your own judgment to like yeah, exactly, to make your own decisions, just to go from there. But there's a point, like I don't know if you've seen like how when people like kind of make that point, but kind of like take it a step too far. I don't know if anyone has like seen that online, where it's like there are people also taking those like stories in, but also harassing like whoever is being like with the allegations or like the victims, and it kind of spreads like wildfire with like the social media.
Yeah.
How do you think that people can kind of discern what is true and what isn't true? Because it is always you want to believe the victims, but sometimes it can be used as camouflaged cancel culture, which is something that we kind of talked about before we started streaming, is using cancel culture that is so rampant to fight your own battles or use your following to fight something that is a personal fight, or to kind of embellish things that happened in order to have your followers do the work for you.
Yeah.
Now, how can people kind of make their own decisions about that kind of thing? Because we do, as social media and wanting to help people, have a tendency to just jump in and attack without really listening to both sides or getting the facts and just hearing one side. So what kind of advice do you have for people, or just kind of really anything you want to talk on about protecting ourselves from that, or kind of facing that? Because it is difficult to
Allie?
see what is true.
I think Allie had her hand up.
Allie?
It was about the point before, but we're good. You're good. Keep going.
We can go back to that.
I'll chime in because I had to watch a couple creators, one of which I'm close to, go through this a little bit ago. It's definitely difficult because, you know, even if someone is in the right, they might not be the best speaker. They might not be the best putting things into words. So things might not come off right. And the biggest advice I can give, because, I mean, at the end of the day, you'll never know if someone's lying or not when it comes down to the he said, she says. But my biggest advice is absorb all the information you can get if it's something you are invested in figuring out. But don't make a judgment call really until you've seen all that people are needing to say, having to say, and things calm back down a little bit. Then make your judgment call, because in the heat of the moment where people are just back and forth throwing things, it's very easy to get caught up and overlook things and not really be in the right headspace to make a judgment call and not just snap decision agree to someone. And the biggest advice I can get is just to absorb all the information you can, sit on it, and come to a logical conclusion at the end. But at the end of the day, like, unfortunately, there are some circumstances where you're like, well, that can't really be proved one way or another, so I just have to go with my gut.
Yeah.
And, like, that's crappy, but sometimes that's all you've got.
I do have a point.
Perfectly said. I think.
Allie, yeah.
I remember now. It kind of, yeah, like with that, kind of like having to weed out stories. I think looking to at if there's just one person telling the story and there's nobody else that has similar experiences, that could maybe be something to look at. But when there's stories that get brought out and then other people corroborate with their own stories, those are kind of things where you go, that's really hard to say no to. Like when it's one person, I can kind of go, I would really like to hear both sides. I would really like to. But when it's like multiple people who don't connect, who don't talk, who aren't in the same community, and they all have similar stories about the same person, I have a really hard time not believing them.
See, then at
So
that point, you're just
I
basically
find
gathering
having
evidence.
a lot of information helps me.
Yeah, yeah, that's like part of what you should be doing. It's like if you're hearing it from multiple people, that's part of it.
Kind of want to add on to this, but I'm not too sure.
Go for it. Do it.
Okay. So I've had like minor experiences with this in the past where I'll end up like actually trying to be friends with someone and like or having a good experience with somebody at a con, and then I find out later on that they've like done things that maybe you should be concerned about. And for the most part, like what I honestly I just try to very quietly like leave my like I just very quietly try to leave the relationship in general, like if I can help it. Yeah, just distance myself, because it's also just not worth it trying to stick your nose into other people's business, especially when you're talking to someone who could be like the who could be like the abuser, or who could be the other party that did the wrong thing. And on that note, I feel whether it's like public or private, I feel like in the case of maybe calling out friends or calling out people who did things, it's better to handle it like privately. Of course, like only go public if you know nothing's going to happen, if you know nothing's happening and you want to warn others. But I'd say try, like if you want to call somebody out and you feel like in anger towards them, try to still try to still be like level-headed, because I've seen it get to the point where someone gets called out in a group, but and it's like a valid like call out, but the energy from the other parties is just, they're like clearly getting, they're getting off on like the anger or the fact that they can yell at someone. And like it's okay to be mad, but like also try not to scare, but try to make the energy like mature, like try to be mature with it. Don't completely take all of like your valid and justified anger and then like take it out on someone, because then like it's not going to get better at that point if you want that person to improve, and you're just hurling insults, not anymore because you want to call out the behavior, but because you want to be mad at someone. Then it's not helping. It won't help you, it won't help the party, it won't help anyone who's like just watching. So just try, I guess, your best to deal with things privately, and also like only go public when you know like that's like the last resort. But try, if you're dealing with it publicly, try to do it. Oh no, if you're dealing with it privately, try to keep a cool energy so that everyone
Or like a level-headed space, right?
Yeah.
Crash?
I saw like Lux and Crash right there.
Oh, Lux, okay.
I'm
Just
keeping
to
track
add
of it.
on,
Sure.
sorry. Just to add on to Jam, I've seen over the years people who used to be like friends with super popular cosplayers, and you would see them all the time together, and then like out of nowhere you just see on Twitter like some big thing happening, and you're just like, what is happening? And then out of nowhere you see like all their friends turn on them, and I'm just like, I thought you guys were friends. And I feel like also that's why I don't, anytime I see it happening in the community, I kind of distance myself and just kind of observe, because I don't want to type anything and then I'm in the wrong without getting all the information, because I don't like jumping into the drama, even if it's not on me or anything. But it's just, there are sometimes people who are claiming to be your friend, and because you may have more success than them, sometimes they even jump on the
bandwagon.
Some allegations come out and it's not even true. And yes, I'm always there to listen to the victims and what they have to say, but there are times when the victim is a person being accused and it's like lies. So I like to get the story straight before I make a a judgment call to should I unfollow this person and not deal with them anymore. But there are times when people who are good people, genuinely good people, they get accused for things that are untrue, and because they may have they're well known in the community, people would just start turning on them, and it's just really sad to see.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, like everyone is just like coming out with just lies until like this person decides to like have proof and start posting the proof, and then you can kind of like see where there's inconsistent truth and lies, or so that's my take on that.
Yeah.
Because it does happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes things do happen and it needs to be addressed, and people need to like know that this person is dangerous, stay away from them. And then there's people who are genuinely good people who are just being attacked. People jump on bandwagons and witch hunts or whatever you want to call it to just kind of tear them down out of jealousy. I don't know, but it does happen.
Yeah.
I feel like it is something for anyone who observes to kind of just make sure you are paying attention to like the facts and just like all the details of everything before you make that judgment, because sometimes it's not true and sometimes it is true. So that's my take on that.
Well said.
Crash.
On what Jam said, the idea that a lot of laundry needs to be aired out in public is like a very powerful trend I have seen in the last few years. Whereas obviously, like, there are moments where there will be things that come out about a person that are genuine allegations, and those are things that need to be broadcasted because it's potentially like an actual crime. Like, I know there were a lot of things with certain photographers in the industry who were like keeping photos of cosplayers or like putting like cameras in like dressing rooms and things. Those are literal crimes. So that is something that people should be aware of. But the things that I hate are when someone has like personal beef with someone and then feels the need to find something morally wrong with them somehow, and then turn that into a call to action where it should not be.
Yeah.
Like, because then at that point you're creating a boy who cried wolf situation where you're like, I would love to be able to know like these actual real instances of someone doing terrible things to someone I know, or someone who's just taking advantage of another person being more quiet. And like, the thing I hate the most and I feel like they've really slowed down, but when people would make whole accounts just for posting like screenshots of things that happen between people, I would get, and I have never been on the receiving end of one nor participated, I would get so livid for everyone involved of like, that's what you're doing with your internet footprint? That's what you want out in the world? Like, if you apply such a permanence to that situation, it also removes the entire idea that people are fluid and can grow from a position where they may be low at. Because, like, again, there are things like genuine crimes where you're like, no, that person has a lot of work to do. But whereas someone may, I don't know, like commit some kind of social faux pas where they're like maybe not aware of, like, cultural appropriation was like a huge thing for a while, where like someone may not be intentionally doing that. But if your first goal is to put someone like that on blast while not giving them a chance to say, hey, that wasn't my intention, I didn't mean to do that, then you're not enforcing positive change, you're bullying.
Yeah.
And that's just gone right back around. And then you're also silencing the voices of POC creators who would act on that should they feel it was important enough. And like, I've had really good talks with a lot of POC creators on how, like, and of course, like, anyone is free to speak on it as well, but how much it pisses them off when you'll get like teenagers online being like, oh, you're getting canceled so fast for like all of these things. Just like, why would you use your time on the internet this way? Like, you can tell they didn't mean anything, and it
Mhm.
doesn't mean harm. But even if someone did do something wrong, there should always be that little opportunity of grace to know, if I were in this position, I would be very upset and devastated if someone didn't give me the chance to redeem myself over time. Which, as just a person courtesy,
Mhm.
for me, I would want to provide that to everyone I've ever met. But that doesn't mean I can't be called out if I do some stupid shit. Like, I'd still want to be able to learn that lesson. But
Yeah.
being kind first, if you're really trying to enforce positive change and seed through those like public cancellations, it shouldn't be attacking everyone you can lay your eye on. Like, your goal should be reinforcing the good people who are involved, and then just bury it eventually.
Mhm.
I hate the permanence that it applies to everything. I feel like I've talked for a long time. I'm so sorry.
I just wanted,
No,
I
it's
just wanted to add.
okay. That
Fine.
was
I
great.
just wanted to
Maybe
add to
it's
that, Crash, what you just said. A lot of the incidents online, I feel, with people are teachable moments. They do go a little bit too far sometimes with the cancel culture. A lot of it's based on education. I feel like a lot of people should be educated on how to behave online or in person in general, without going to that extent of let's cancel this person right away without giving them a chance. But there are also people who need to be canceled. Let's just say, right? But
Yeah.
when you come out with claims and certain things like that, it does take away from victims of true that are suffering or in those circumstances as well. So we have to learn how to differentiate between those as well and give people chances. But there are people who need to be called out.
Yeah.
And calling out someone, like, after you get all the facts. So, for example, we had someone on the show a few months back who I think Frank is aware of, who was caught on Facebook trying to meet an underage person, right? Yeah. So the only thing that I could have done with the information given at the time was to take the episode off the air and just unlist it for whatever reason. If someone did reach out to me for evidence or whatever, right, I have to keep that episode because the person was speaking on working with children and stuff like that as well. So there is things that you can do once the evidence is provided to you, but to jump the gun for a lot of things that you just hear without having any proof or any evidence, it's very hard. I don't think people need to be doing that until you actually know for certain.
You're
Right?
right.
So
That's what I mean of, like, if it's an actual offense, obviously, yes,
Yeah.
tell people
Yeah.
about that. But don't take it upon yourself as a stranger to just start sending death threats to someone.
Right.
Like, obviously, authorities and the involved parties will be handling that
Yeah.
swiftly, I hope. But
I'll say, for example,
Good God.
if me and Crash were friends, right? Well, we are friends now. So,
Oh, me.
for example, if I heard something about a particular photographer, which I'm not aware if it's true or not, I have no evidence or no proof that it's true, and Crash is going to shoot with that said photographer tomorrow, I think it's my duty to let her know this is what I heard, for her to be safe, right? I mean, it might not
Yeah.
be true, but just be on the lookout for what could happen. I feel like that is a good way of approaching things without saying, let's cancel this person right away, right? Without knowing. So
Well, that's like
Just-
the private versus public thing. Of
Let's
like
keep each other
something
safe.
you
The
just
main
want to
goal is
let
to keep
someone
everyone safe.
personally know about, because who knows if it's true or not. So,
yeah.
and again, even if it is, a good thing to have let someone known without potentially, because those things have such a snowball effect
Yeah.
once they move out, especially in this super crazy digital age with very young people now on the internet all the time. Like, that could potentially ruin someone's life if you are
Yeah.
not careful.
Yeah.
And
When,
it is,
100%.
yeah,
even if the
exactly.
person might not be the best person, that is still so rough to watch.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like you can apply that even to in-person interactions, right? Just kind of gentle nudging of letting people know what's going on, because maybe they know, maybe they don't know. I have a couple friends that were at a con recently, and there's a photographer that tends to persuade in a subtle way poses for women that show off their feet, because it is at a water park, and takes essentially fetish content without them knowing that that's what's being taken. And my friends walked by and saw that he had women in this kind of position and went by and went, hey, oh my god, it's so good to see you, even though they like didn't know these girls. And like when they were talking, like one of them just kind of went, hey, just so you know, like this photographer tends to like persuade and do this. And the girls were like, oh my god, we didn't realize that. And they like changed how they were posing and they were more cognizant because it's not something they were thinking about. It's not something they knew was happening. It could be something as small or as subtle as that, as if you see someone interacting with someone that has been a problem in the past, not everyone might know about that, and there's always gentle, subtle ways you can let them know, because you're not necessarily canceling that person by doing so, but you could be protecting someone from potentially harmful behavior.
That's the thing too of like continued behavior. Like if that's still a thing that's continuing to happen even after they've been called out about it, which is like, again, another like lesson that could be learned from cancel culture if the method wasn't so batshit, is that hopefully you can learn from it and then not do that bad thing again if that was the case. If you're continuing to do that, then yes, kind of all bets are off at that point. You've lost the safety gear of like, no, you got your slap on the wrist. Why are you still doing it then? And Lord knows we had people in the con community do that.
When like certain like incidents and stuff like that happen, how can we like prevent that in like from a convention standpoint, like because you know conventions themselves, they're not necessarily like they hold the they hold the events, but they don't really know
They don't
like
police
what
anything yet.
yeah they don't like from what I feel like is they don't really know what's going on within the community, and they kind of just take in like count them in as just like a regular like attendee, and like that's kind of like exposing other con goers uh for like something potentially that could be dangerous. But like I haven't really seen any um like I don't know, there's not like a lot of rules in regards to like stuff like that. I don't know.
If you're actually looking for like advice when it comes to that, I've had a personal situation about a harasser and a stalker that I reached out to the con that I was a guest at, and I just let them know the situation, and I showed them kind of some of the evidence and the receipts, who this person was, and cons can't take any kind of legal action to keep someone out without having any kind of restraining order or something like that. But what they can do is they can make security aware of this person and what they look like, and they can have their name on a list. That they can't keep them out, but they can make you aware if that person is there, so that you at least can be made aware of that. Some cons, like the one that I was guesting at, they increased their security around me specifically, because this person had made it clear they were making their intention to go there to harass me. And so because they had security know what this person looked like, at least I felt a lot more safe knowing. So I think it's just kind of going to the cons with good intentions, not just someone you have a beef with, but someone who could be an actual danger. And cons are usually very receptive about it, but they will take it obviously with a grain of salt, because a lot of people comment, oh, this person's a really bad person, watch out for them, things like that. But I think just being transparent with the cons, that's at least my experience that I've had with that exact situation. Jam, also, I saw that you had your hand up for a while and you've been trying to talk, and then
okay, like sort of just like thread to like go back into the topic, I guess. Also, when it comes to those kinds of people, I guess the best way that I've done anyway. I don't like using Facebook for cosplay community stuff, even though that's like the main place where people that's the main place where people talk about it in the Philippines. When you're at a convention with other people, it's probably best to keep your phone on you, like on Facebook or something. If you have a friend there or like someone you know might be there, maybe just like stay in touch. Because I've also seen people where it's the case of like someone who did something who was like questionable to the point where it might be illegal. People will just like text or post like, hey, this person is here, or send like a small photo of like the person in the background or something like that. Hey, be wary of this guy, this might be like harmful for you guys. And on that point that I think I was gonna get back to earlier, I feel like we didn't talk about this, but like when you approach someone at a convention, um, this is mostly towards like con goers, try to like approach it in a safe for work, safe environment type of way, because you don't know whether you don't know whether the cosplayer you're talking to is a minor. And I think we all think it has to be said, because there was a trend back a while, like a few years ago. It was basically like kabedon, where you would just like take someone's hands and then like slam them against the wall, which can be it can be good and fun if you're an adult. And I think a lot of my like we should be a lot more responsible, and especially if you're a minor, to not participate in that trend, because most of the time it's like the person asking the cosplayer to do it, and you don't know whether the cosplayer is underage, you don't know whether the person doing it is underage. It's always better to ask. And also I feel like we need, I don't know if this is still going on in America, but we need to like maybe go to cons in more appropriate attire, because there was a point where I was at a con with my sister and someone asked her, who's like, she's a minor, someone asked her to take a picture, and he was like in like the hentai hoodie sweatpants get up.
Oh, that's
And
what you mean. God, yeah, those.
yeah,
Can we leave
yeah,
those alone, please?
it like we're at a point in like being nerds where it's more acceptable, especially for kids, to go to the conventions, and people are bringing their kids to conventions.
Yeah.
So if you like know that you're still in a public space, God forbid in a mall, and you're going in that, maybe you should rethink what you wear.
Rethink your
Maybe
clothes.
yeah,
I've seen
there's
that
a
a
reason
lot.
why people will keep like there's a reason why people keep certain merch under the desk for people to purchase, and it's because there are like minors and there are kids going to these conventions because they also want to have fun, and we
and
shouldn't
why
like
there are
restrict
18
them
and
from
up cons
fun.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like keep
there
that
are.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
Oh, yeah, but like I think we need to be more, or at least I think the Filipino cosplay community needs to be more vigilant, and like take a little more account into asking people, like at the very least, if they are of age to do a certain trend, because at that point, like it's also like you never know if the person that you're talking to is okay with it, or if they're like, if it's not the fact that they're okay, if they're like of age and can do that trend, like have it done stepping on people, you really have to know these kinds of things, otherwise it could end up being like um dangerous for both parties.
Dude, those like step on you for $5 signs. Can we
I
also
was
leave
just
those
gonna get
behind?
into that.
I
Yeah.
swear that is such a slippery legal slope. Please do not do that anymore. I don't mean to be an uncool
There
mom, but don't do
there
that.
was like a really big incident.
Wait,
Was it
just really
two-
quickly.
Oh yeah.
So Allie had her hand up a long time ago.
Oh
So
yes.
this is why I just want to make
Definitely.
sure so we're not
So
skipping
sorry.
over
I
everything.
know it's
So hold on to
okay.
that, and we're just gonna do next.
No,
Allie,
you're
go
good.
ahead with the
No, I
next
just
one.
wanted to
Then
give
Link's
just like a little bit of advice, because we were talking about like how some people get called out, and of course, like you're gonna make your own judgment. People are adults; you're gonna make your own calls. So if you maybe continue to work with people of question, I always just say go in pairs. Like that has been my biggest saving grace, is like I have never ever done a photo shoot by myself, ever, never will. Always bring a friend, always bring somebody that you're comfortable with. It's just so comforting having another person there, either in the photo shoot or behind the camera, to kind of, again, because then they can see the angles, they can see what the photographer's doing, because you're standing there, you're posing. So just that was my tidbit of advice, is always go in pairs, always have a group of friends, like try not do these things alone, as like, and I'm not trying to not promote independence, but like it's just for safety. Like
No,
there are
definitely. I
scary things.
agree.
These can be unsafe things out there, and just like for younger people and older people, just that's my tidbit of advice. It's always go in pairs.
Oh yeah, that's good advice, because like going off from what you said, like some of the photographers that I work with actually also encourage like that too. Like, oh, just to let you know, just if you're comfortable, like bring someone along with you, because it'll be your first time, just to be like in a photo shoot. And like for me, I also, whenever I like schedule photo shoots too, or my friends who schedule, I like ask them to come with me, or even I ask my boyfriend or my brother or whoever, my mom, like, come with me to go to this photo shoot, just like for security and also for comfortability. Exactly. Yeah.
And also, that's not just like a "we're afraid of all photographers" thing. That's just in
general
comfort thing
thing.
of like, it is stressful being like one-on-one with a photographer and you just being in acting mode the whole time, and then not having that one friend to just be like in the background. It like really brings down the tension. And like I shoot like boudoir content and stuff sometimes, and I have some male photographers who I've known for years, but in their contracts they say there has to be someone else in the room along with you that you trust, or I cannot shoot with you. And that's just for their safety and yours, where it's like, not that anything bad will ever happen, but it's like, this is a comfort thing. And also there are some rare cases, but like other people also coming on to photographers. So it's all weird.
Yeah, if like that person has an issue with you bringing someone along, then that's something. A light bulb goes off. You take that, judgment
like, oh, there won't be a
call.
lot of space, and it's just like, no, thank you then.
We have actually run over quite a lot because this has been such a good discussion. I didn't want to stop it. We are almost running on an hour and a half. I have so many other topics that I want to talk about, so that's why we're actually going to do several different episodes of this topic. We're going to have other cosplayers on. Honestly, if you want to come back on and continue talking about this, you are more than welcome to be on the other episodes we're going to do, because there's just so much to say, and this is so important. A lot of brand new, newer, even veteran cosplayers really need to hear this kind of stuff, if not only so they don't feel alone, and so they feel safe in the community. But before we go and end the stream, I just want to give everyone one chance to kind of say anything else that they really wanted to say that they think is really important, they want to get out there. So we're gonna go in order, well, at least the order that it is now. So any last words you want to say?
Be safe. Be very, very safe. Don't go to cons alone. Bring at least one friend with you, and always look out for each other. Keep everybody safe. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Jam. Old-fashioned nerd.
Ask before you hug people.
Yeah.
Please.
Is that it?
That's it. I'm
short and sweet.
Anthony, anything you want to say?
Yeah, we're doing the best we can online, especially our team to spreading the message or bringing attention to these topics. We do what we can online, but we also have a presence within the Toronto area. So if you are at a con that we're going to be at a booth, we usually have a safe space for you. We will kick asses if we have to, so come over to the booth. Ali, you know what I mean? Come to the booth, we'll keep you safe, and we'll handle the situation for you if you're not comfortable doing so yourself. That's it.
I just wanted to, first of all, say thank you for having me. This has been great, and I think it's important stuff to talk about. So I really appreciate getting to kind of have my 2 cents. And my last little nugget of advice would be, like, if you're thinking about interacting with someone in a way that makes you second guess if you should do it, always ask. Whether it's, I don't know if they'd want me to hug them, or I don't know if they'd want me to, like, blah, blah, blah. No matter how major or how minor, if you had to think about it more than once to be like, should I? Ask. That's something where you need to ask.
Crash?
Yeah. Also, I was going to say thank you for having me. This is super cool. And it's really nice having like a roundtable conversation about deeper topics in the community so that you get that feeling, especially for people who are listening. Like, you're not alone in thinking certain things are a little bit crazy on the internet lately. And it's not that you're getting old. It's just a very weird atmosphere. But be mindful of how you are interacting with cancel culture and whether or not you are confusing your pursuit of positive change for bullying that is camouflaged as something else.
That's
Just
so well
be
said.
wary of your intentions and try to be as kind and as graceful as you possibly can, even to enemies sometimes, within reason. But do no harm but take no shit is what my mom says. So
Nice.
Well said.
Yeah.
Lex?
Thanks for having me. It's been really informative. I've learned some things here. Be kind. Be kind and respect people's boundaries. It's the number one thing. That's it for me.
Allie?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. And I just think the biggest takeaway is like, no is a full sentence. Like no is no. Don't take it personal. Remember your mental health and your breaks, and if you need to step away, that's totally fine. Screw the Instagram algorithm. It's computer. We're never going to win against it. So don't even try and fight it. And just enjoy cosplay because damn it, this is fun and we're a fun community and we have fun and we're so fun and just love it. Damn it, we're cool.
Have a good time, even if it's not on the internet. It rules.
Yeah. And rounding it out with links.
So let's say always ask, and the worst thing they could say is no. And yeah, just be observant on what you see online or in person. Take everything with a grain of salt. Make your own judgment call. You guys are smart, even if you don't think so. And just be kind. Like our community, we're nice people. Just reach out to us if you have any advice or questions or anything, and we're here for you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here and talking on this topic and making people feel, like you said, like they're not alone, because it's very important. We are going to be having a few more episodes touching on this topic because it's very important, and there's a lot of people who have a lot of really good things to say and a lot of different perspectives to say them from. So you can find this episode and all of our other episodes on the Beneath the Cowl podcast YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It's all Beneath the Cowl podcast and Cosplay Alliance. And until then, we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
If you're watching this episode on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Comment below on what topics you would like to see us cover on future podcast episodes. Also, all episodes are available in audio format on all major podcast platforms. Thank you for